Some fish are legendary, some are sacred, and some will test everything you've got. Across North America, indigenous tribes have fished these waters for centuries, carving traditions, ceremonies, and survival from every catch. Now, we travel deep into their ancestral homelands to uncover stories behind the fish that shape their cultures, and catch some absolute giants along the way. From the raging rivers of the Pacific Northwest to the untouched lakes of the Great Plains, we're hooking into monsters that fed generations and diving headfirst into the traditions that keep them alive today. I'm Robert Jacobo, and this is IndigeFish, Tribal Tales. Are you ready to chase something big?
All right, what's up, guys? So, we're making our way out to the beach. It's a beautiful day. I mean, check it out. What more can you ask for? So, insanely beautiful out here. We're gonna be getting over to the beach. We're gonna be going down there surf fishing, but guess what, guys? What we're gonna do today is we're not even gonna take any bait down there. We're not gonna use lures. We are gonna be doing bait fishing, but we gotta find our own bait, right? So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go look down at the beach and see what we can find, because obviously the best bait is gonna be the bait that the fish actually eat, right? The animals actually eat. So we wanna make sure that we're kind of sticking around that ecosystem of what they're actually gonna eat and devour. So why not go down there, see what's down in the surf, and see what we can use to go ahead and do that. So just wanted to bring you guys in, right? So into our garage here. And what we're gonna be using is something that is just really basic, right? Nice basic fishing pole that we got here. It's a 7-foot pole made by Daiwa. Okay. And I was able to pick this guy up from Big Five for about $34.99, 40 bucks, something around there. Also, it's lined up with some braid. So that is what I've come to find is actually pretty successful in making sure that I keep the fish on the line, right? And then we're gonna be using some regular circle hooks, right? Get in there, get into our bag, see what kind of hooks we have. I'm pretty sure I have a couple of circle hooks in there, so I'm pretty sure that will be just fine. And then we're gonna go down to the surf, get those sand crabs, and we can actually get them, since they're so abundant right there in the surf. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually just pick them out one by one individually. We don't have to necessarily have them in a bucket or anything like that, because we're not traveling. We're just gonna be staying right there in the surf and going from there. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and grab our gear and a beach chair, right? So that way we have a place to go ahead and sit and kick back, and then go from there. All right, I'll see you guys in a second. All right, so once again, we got our Daiwa rod, right? I believe this is about 30 pound, 40 pound braid. I'd have to double check on the package, but we're gonna be taking this down to the beach, going down there, getting some sand crabs, nothing too crazy. And then what we're gonna be doing is just fishing with those sand crabs. We don't have to have a bucket or anything too crazy, because you're just getting them right there on the beach. You know what I mean? So the food is abundant there for these fish. And wow, what a beautiful day it is. So let's take a look here, right? And just check that out. And what we really want to be paying attention to, especially since we have this view from the top, we want to really be paying attention to kind of like where that dirt, see, you can see where the sand is really kind of muddied up, right? And what you really want to be paying attention to is where can you get at the edge of that sand? Because that is going to be the best areas where the fish don't have to worry about getting beat up too much in the surf. And on top of that, they don't have to worry about not having food, because the food is going to be relatively abundant in those areas. So what we're going to do is we're going to go pick ourselves a spot, plop ourselves down on the beach, get comfortable, get ourselves set up. We got our nice little Tommy Bahama chair and stuff, but we're gonna go ahead and get ourselves set up and then get to looking for those sand crabs and fishing. And you guys will come along on that journey as well to go ahead and get those sand crabs right there out of the surf, so that way we can go ahead and start our fishing day. So, all right, guys. All right, I mean, we're out here. We're gonna be getting our hook ready, right? Our pole and stuff. So pretty much what we're gonna be doing is, let's just make sure this isn't going both directions. And it is. So we need to make sure that we're gonna go ahead and get that addressed, because we don't want it like going backwards when we're in the surf. And so there's usually a switch on here, and I just don't remember where it was. At least I really hope there's a switch on here, because if it's broken, that's a different story altogether. Now normally we would find these switches kind of in a unique spot. So let's go ahead and not necessarily the most unique spot in the world, but let's see if we can't find this switch. Now mainly it's supposed to be a switch so that way we can go anti-reverse, right? So this is forward, like to say we're reeling something in, but there's also a reverse that it can go, and we don't necessarily want that. We want it to just lock when there's, you know, nothing going on it, right? We don't want it just like going. Because if it does that, then what ends up happening is our line bunches up, you know, just all kinds of weird stuff can happen. But that's what we have. Handy dandy ChatGPT and things like that for, right? So let's go ahead, and while that does that, we'll continue the search. But it looks like we might just be out of luck regarding that. I don't know what's going on here. But hey, I don't claim to know all of this stuff. Okay guys, so from what I'm seeing is we're probably just gonna have to just go ahead and just attack it today with it, because what it's saying is that we might have a broken or misaligned anti-reverse switch or lever that's going on inside the mechanism itself. That's not gonna stop us from fishing, right? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna man up and throw it out there anyways. And we're gonna go ahead and see what we can do, right? And if it happens to be that it just ends up being way too much or way weird or something like that, then we'll address it then. But for right now, just because it goes in the opposite direction doesn't necessarily mean that's a no-go for us. Who knows? It could be a blessing in disguise, right? So like, we just never know. And we have the ultimate anti-reverse anyways, because what we can actually do is we can actually just sit there and not let our line go out. So this is just kind of like me taking a lazy approach to just kind of getting my line in. You know, I'm just kicking back here on the beach. And while we do this, let me tell you a little bit about, you know, why I started IndigeFish in the first place. And it all comes down to, you know, a time when I was a little kid and I just had the ability to go out and go fishing with my own dad, right? And what it was a moment that we got to share where he got to show me something about like nature, about wildlife, about all that stuff. And it was just really cool, because what ended up happening was, you know, I became a little bit addicted to it. And then the thing was, I didn't actually get into it until just a few years ago. And it wasn't until after my dad had passed away that I was like, let's go ahead and check this out. Let's see what this is all about. I want to be able to fish, and I want to be able to be a good fisherman. I want to be able to go out and do more, right? And so that's where it all kind of started. It just started with me going back and forth, and I went to this yard sale one day, and I went into this Connex box, and what that is a big old, it's like one of those shipping containers, right? And so I went into one of those shipping containers, and in there was a box, a tackle box. And in that tackle box, there was like $200, $300 worth of fishing gear in this box. And I didn't really know about it at the time, right? I didn't actually know that that was probably the value of the stuff in the box. But it was like, it was just speaking to me. It was like Jumanji, right? So like it was going right, and just kind of like speaking to me. And so I picked it up. I asked the guy how much he wanted for it, and he was like $5. And I was like, you know what? I just started living in Arizona again, and fishing was just an outlet, right? I sincerely miss my dad, and so fishing was just an outlet that I got to reconnect, right? Like on a daily basis. And so what I then got to do was I got to learn a little bit more. And it was like as if my dad was right there next to me the whole time. And so I'm learning how to fish, and I'm throwing the different lures on and stuff. I have absolutely no clue what I was doing back then, and I still kind of don't, right? I mean, fishing is a learning sport, right? It's a learning sport where you're learning constantly every single day, whether it's new knots, whether it's, you know, different fishing patterns or anything like that. Like, you're always learning. And so I just got the opportunity to learn. And fast forward to today, now I get the opportunity to use this as more so like a meditative practice. That's very good, it's very healthy. And like, let's be honest, it keeps me from doing things that could be problematic, that could be troublesome, or anything like that, right? I'm not going out and spending a bunch of money. Now, don't get me wrong, fishermen, we spend a lot of money on gear and different things like that, but you know, we're not going out to the clubs or anything like that. It's not like we're going all over the place, you know, losing our cool or doing anything crazy, you know, like, rather we're just out here, we're enjoying nature. And so, fast forward to today, and now I get the opportunity to actually sit out here and enjoy myself. And through that enjoyment, I get to inspire other people, right? Inspire other people to enjoy their lives. And so that's what I ultimately wanted to do with my life, was I wanted to just find different ways to be able to inspire other people to live their life and live their lives to the fullest. And so being out here allows me to do that. And so that's where, you know, we're gonna find the origin of IndigeFish, is just in that aspect of reconnection, right? You're reconnecting with nature in a way that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to. And so I figured I'd take advantage of that as much as possible. So anyways, guys, we're gonna get out here today, and I mean, it's beautiful, right? It's wonderful out here. The temperature's just right. The tide is more so at its peak right now for the morning. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take advantage of that, because what happens is fish like to come in and feed during this time, right? Because the water is coming up a little bit higher. It's starting to wash things in from the shore, right? So the fish are really enjoying that, right? They're basically getting a buffet, right? So we want to take advantage of that buffet and get our bait out there, so that way those fish could be taking a look and saying, yummy, that is what I want. And then once we get it out there and we get on, then they take us for a wild ride. right? They take us for their wild ride through their home and stuff, and they're gonna show us around a little bit. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going in my bag. It's not super well organized at this current point in time. I just came off of a big trip. And so right now, what I'm doing is I'm going through, there's some old circle hooks that I have that I'm gonna be using. And so I gotta get those. Now, big important thing, guys, when you have trash like this, right? Little fibers and stuff like that, as a fisherman, throw that stuff back in your bag, right? You're bringing trash to the beach, put it back in your bag. Make sure that you're taking care of the area that you're fishing, and it'll take care of you. Right? You wanna catch fish, you gotta show them that you mean business and that you're meaning to be here with intention of making sure that you're taking care of the environment as well. Right? You don't wanna necessarily be trashing someone's home, because you don't want to put that juju out there, right? You don't want to put those vibes out there. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of the home that we're fishing in. Not only for ourselves, not only for the beach, but also just for that karma about it, right? You want to make sure we're having good vibes. Now what I'm going to do here is called a Palomar knot, right? So what we're going to do is I like to personally go through the front part of the hook, okay? So let's wet it up. Sometimes those fibers, they like to expand on each other. So let's wet it up. We'll put it through the front part of the hook. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in, almost like we're just tying a regular box knot, right? Come in, I'm gonna pull it through with my thumb. All right, and now that we're here, now what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna bring this loop here, right? And I'm gonna put my hook through it. And that's gonna create a nice secure point and drag that up and then back down, cinch it down. And that's one of the strongest knots that you can actually tie. I love the Palomar knot, I love the uni knot. I like a good snell from time to time. Sometimes I lose a little bit of confidence over the snell, to be honest. Like sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing in the world, but it just is what it is. So the other thing that I like to do is I like to come in with a loop, right? And I like to create like a tag. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna kind of like create these tight points on both sides. And I'm gonna drag my hook through. Now kids, don't do this at home necessarily. So I like to create that little tag in right there, right? And it's gonna be able to hold that down. That gives that much more room for our fish to bite. Now, if I had it right on the line, our fish could grab onto something and then spit it right out because of the tension in the line. This allows a little bit of slack for that bait to go ahead and kind of free flow, just be there, and then go from there. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie on another hook, right? Another one of these guys. I'm gonna tie on another one. About, I'd say, 9 to 12 inches up from the last. Same thing, Palomar knot, okay? Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain to get all these knots going, but once you get it on, once you get it in there, you don't even have to worry about it anymore. Like, once I get these tied on, I never really worry that I'm gonna have to like retie another knot. Hardly does this ever break, especially with the braid, right? The braid actually provides so much good security. The biggest thing I'm wondering about today is how we're gonna fare with the anti-reverse just gone on our reel right now. So that's gonna be interesting. And also too, that we're not coming out here with like squid or anchovies or sardines or anything like that. Like, we just gotta hope that the fish are hungry, right? We're coming in here, I'm gonna create that little looped area. Drag our hook through there. And there we go. And now that we have that, now we're ready to fish, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the cameras around. We're gonna go ahead and do that. And then go from there, guys. So let's go ahead and get our sand crabs ready to go. And then make sure that we are fishing. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna come down here to the beach. We're gonna catch ourselves some sand crabs. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, right? And what we'll do is we'll actually kind of wait for a wave to come in, right? So waves aren't coming up totally right now. We're on the back end of high tide, right? Actually more so like we're at the pinnacle of high tide. So these waves are gonna come in, right? Let's see it. And then what you can see is you can actually see the sand crabs and their antennas, right, as they're sticking up. And all we're gonna do with that is we're gonna go ahead and actually just, we're just gonna stick our hand in the sand, right? We're gonna stick our hand in the sand. We're gonna pull a couple of these guys out. So what I like to do is I like to just see if I can find a big one. So that way we can get a couple of big ones on the line, toss it out there, and get it going. So let's go ahead and get down here, right? And I like to wait for the waves to come in too, because it makes it a lot easier for us to see where there might be a big one, right? Because they're coming up during those waves and they're actually just looking to feed on whatever might be in the surf, whatever granules or anything like that. They're getting a little bit of air as well, right? Just different stuff like that that's going on when these waves are coming up, right? So let's go ahead and stick our hand in here and voila, super simple, right? So we're already on one. That's a decent sized one right there. Now we want to catch one more, right? So this decent sized guy, we're gonna go ahead and hook him on, right? Let's see if we can't catch ourselves another one here. Oh, we almost lost the first one. So there's some decent sized guys over here. Oh yeah. There's another one right there. That's a decent sized guy right there. Let's go ahead and rinse him off. You can see. We might even grab one more of those guys. And I think I got one. And he's a big one. And so the cool thing is too, like I said, you want to be smart about the areas that you're fishing, right? Like obviously you want to be fishing where the food is. Because if you're fishing and there's no food, then how are they supposed to eat, right? So we want to fish where the food is. Now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna hook these guys on. Now, for those of you that are a little bit queasy, right, this might not be for you, but this is just nature. This is what happens. These guys do get eaten. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the hook through the bottom. Oh, I'm trying to get away. We're gonna put the hook through the bottom, right, and right through that shell. Going through the back. You're not gonna overhook it or anything like that, okay? Because you still want your hook to be relatively exposed. Same thing with this guy. We're gonna go right through it. So on the bottom here of this sand crab, on the bottom, you got like a little shovel, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our hook right into that shovel, bring it up, and then right through the back, okay? And then you're good to go. So our next step here is let's get out there, let's start casting, and then let's go ahead and catch ourselves some fish. All right, guys, like I said, our anti-reverse is kind of like shot, right? And so what we got going on right now is we're just gonna be throwing out here. Okay, we got our sand crabs on and toss that sucker way out there. We're just getting to the edge, really. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back here and just wait a little bit. The whole concept of fishing is, you know, patience. Right? And sometimes the actual waves will test your patience because it'll pull on your line, right? It's like a vacuum. So it'll pull on your line and make you think that you have something on. But you just have to be able to tell the difference between waves and actually something biting your line. So we're not super far out. We're probably about 40 yards out, right? From the beach's edge here. And so since we're about 40 yards out, we're still kind of roughly in the sand, right? But that's okay, because what's going on is there's a lot of commotion. There's food that's getting, you know, turned up in the sand, and then, you know, you're going from there. So if there's gonna be fish, they're gonna be coming through the area, and they're gonna be looking to actually eat that food that's floating right there in the surf. So, and I've seen, you know, different things in the beach. I mean, like I've seen it to where there's leopard sharks. I've seen it to where, you know, there's little sand sharks or stingrays swimming right here in the very entry of the surf. I've had leopard sharks literally pass by my feet or hit me in the feet, you know. So like, you know that things are coming up relatively shallow. The one thing that we also want to keep in mind and actually pay attention to really is going to be kelp, right? That's going to be our biggest enemy today, is going to be any kelp. And so we want to make sure that that kelp is not getting tangled in our line, especially with our line being braid. It doesn't easily break. If anything, it's going to break mechanisms in our poles and stuff like that far before it actually snaps the line. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping a good eye out for any kelp that might be in the area, right? And also too, we want to keep in mind that we're probably going to be looking at maybe about 10 minutes of our line actually being there in the surf, because what we want to do is we want to bring it back in, check on our bait. Now look, we started off with nothing, right? We actually just picked up sand crabs that were in the sand, and we're going from there. So if we actually are catching anything out here, it's going to be amazing. Like it just goes to show you that you don't have to have the fanciest gear or like the fanciest bait in order to catch something big, right? Or in order to catch something at all. Like the only thing that you have to keep in mind is that you just have to be smart, right? You just have to look at the ecosystem and the environment for what it is and see, is that something that's going to be beneficial for these animals to eat? All right, guys, so let's see, we've been out here now for a little while. To be honest, I haven't even felt a single bite off the sand crabs. You would think, right? Because of the fact that it's coming from the natural environment, that these sand crabs would be working wonders. Now, normally they do, right? I've caught guitar fish, I've caught yellow croakers, I've caught stingrays, all kinds of stingrays, whether it be, you know, a thornback ray, I've caught, you know, bat rays, I've caught round rays, and it just seems like today the surf was a little bit hectic, right? That one I won't contribute that much to. I'd have to say that the biggest contributor to probably me having to kind of revisit my line and stuff like that was definitely the kelp, right? The kelp definitely played a big part in today's fishing. anytime I casted out my line, within 2-3 minutes, there was a piece of kelp on the line. Now, normally, if you get a piece of kelp on your line, it's a light piece of kelp, not too much of a worry, right? But there were some big pieces of kelp that were out there that, once they got on the line, they were just holding the line down and then dragging it along the surf, which then didn't allow my bait to stay kind of in one place for any long period of time. And so it was just kind of like, it was unfortunate, but you know what? We're in the falling part of the tide right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pack it up here for this afternoon. And we're gonna bring ourselves back out here around sunset, which, by the way, sunset's extremely beautiful. Hopefully there won't be as much kelp in the surf. And then what we'll do is we'll see if we can go ahead and catch some fish. We'll charge our cameras up a little bit, make sure everything's ready to go. And yeah, that's another thing too, guys. When you're thinking about coming out here, you're thinking about filming this type of stuff, we're really jumping into this, right? And one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that when it comes down to it, we really have to pay attention to the gear, how much battery's getting used and stuff like that. Because, I mean, we came out, we were full charge. We're sitting right now at like 9% battery left, right? And we just gotta know and understand our equipment a little bit better as well. But, when it comes to the fishing aspect, oh, and by the way, guys, the anti-reverse on our reel, it just like started working again. So, we'll just go ahead and leave it for what it is. We may switch out the reel. We're not fishing for anything too crazy, anything too heavy. Oh man, a little bit tired, right? Not fishing for anything too crazy, anything too heavy, so we might switch out our reel. I have another one that by Okuma that is already lined up with some braid and stuff, so we might bring that one out here a little bit later today. So we're gonna go up, grab some lunch, and then get ready for the evening. So anyways, guys, great fishing with you guys out here today. Unfortunately, we didn't catch anything, but we're gonna be coming out here with a little bit of a vengeance tonight, see if we can get something on the line. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you later. All right, guys, so we're back at it, right? A little bit later in the evening. So not exactly at sunset, but we are gonna be going out here. It's relatively low tide. The tide is actually rising right now, but we're at the trough of low tide, right? So tide right now, it's roughly about 1 foot. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go out there for about an hour. So this is what I like to call our flash fish, right? So we got ourselves a little challenge. We told Lindsay about it, and just for all y'all out there, Lindsay's my fiance, and so gotta love a woman who loves a man who can fish. So it's amazing. But even more than that, we're going out there flash fish style. We're gonna, get out there, sand crabs as well. We're not deviating from that. So let's go back out there with the sand crabs. Let's see what we can do and make sure that we're making this count. So we're gonna do what we can. We're gonna once again scout out the beach, right? And see where we would be able to catch the most, right? Or, where they might be feeding or whatnot. Remember, this is low tide too, so a lot of those sand crabs, they're not washing back into the shore, right? Or they're not washing back out into the ocean like they normally would on any given high tide period. And so what we really got to pay attention to is whether or not we're going to get any bites or anything off of those sand crabs, or if we're even going to be able to find them. Maybe those sand crabs dig themselves deeper or whatnot. But yeah, so this is the flash fish challenge, guys. So let's get to it and look at, the beach. It's beautiful, but at the same time, relatively droll, right? It doesn't look like there's too much going on. A lot of birds down that way, but we're giving ourselves about an hour to go ahead and flash fish and see what we can get out of this. So, all All right, guys, well, let's get to it. Well, let's hope that the sound isn't too bad. It's relatively quiet out here, minus the waves and stuff. But as you can see, we got like tons of kelp balls. We got some pelicans flying overhead and stuff, you know, it's really cool. But tons of kelp all over the place. As you can see on my line right now, we have some kelp that's just been dragging us along the shoreline. We're like probably about 100 yards away from our initial setup. And also my microphone just doesn't want to connect to my camera. So it's just turning out to be one of those days where, you know, you're just kind of like counting your lucky stars that, you know, you're just out here in the first place fishing, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even one of those days where like you're looking at it and you're like, oh man, I can't believe I didn't get this or didn't get that. Like, no, like there's no shame in it whatsoever. You know what, our sand crabs look a little tired on there, so let's go ahead and hunt for some new ones, huh? This one still seems okay. But my other guy, he was a little tired. That guy's still a little small. Oh, I felt a big one. And there he is. So we got ourselves a nice bait. Had our sand crab right there, so we're gonna go ahead and get him hooked in. And what we're gonna do is actually, let's see, we're gonna go ahead and hook him through this bottom little section right there, right? And this guy's shell is already cracked, so we're gonna wanna hook him in a place that's not necessarily near that crack. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and get back out there, get our line back out there. Now where we were initially fishing, you know, it wasn't anything crazy. I wasn't feeling any bites, let's be honest. Not feeling too many bites. You know, number one rule of fishing is you gotta fish where the fish are. And so I have a good feeling right here. So I'm seeing like a little bit of a dip as we go down deeper, right? You can kind of see it like right around this area. Starts to dip down. That's where those sea creatures are gonna be coming in to get a little bit of feeding. Now we got some camera gear on us, so we're not gonna get too deep because we don't wanna get super wet or anything. We're gonna go ahead and cast out from right here. Let's go ahead and get it going. Kind of not that great of a cast, right into the wave, as a matter of fact, but we're gonna let it sit for a second, let it do its thing. Oh. And here we go. Yes. All right, so we got something. And it is pulling. All right. We got ourselves something. And, you know, it's putting up a decent fight. It definitely pulled us outward. All right. Here we go. Coming to shore. I thought we were going to get skunked out completely today. But luckily, the fishing gods were in our favor. All right. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a little guitar fish. And remember, guys, we just caught this off of sand crabs. Like, we didn't come out here with bait or anything like that we didn't take straight from nature. So for us to be able to catch this fish, right, that's pretty amazing. All right, look at how beautiful this guy is. And so this is a guitar fish, right? He's relatively like hard, stiff, right? This nice, long, powerful tail and this massive shovel nose. And the cool thing is that that's like so much power when you're fighting it, right? So what I like to do is I just usually turn them over, right? First and foremost, let's look at that beauty. That is a beautiful guitar fish, right? He's a little dirty right now, so let's go ahead and get him untangled up from this line first and foremost. Then we're gonna go ahead and get the hook out of his mouth, because the hook was barely set in there. Barely set. And so, what a great catch. Guys, look what I got right here. Ourselves a beautiful guitar fish. We're gonna go ahead and get him back in the water, make sure that he gets off nice and safe, and say thank you, because we've been out here fishing all day long, and this was the first thing that we came around, and there he goes. And so first thing that we came around, we came out here with no bait. We're just using exactly what we could find here in the surf, which was sand crabs. And so it was a beautiful thing to be able to actually go out there and fish, and with no bait whatsoever, come out with a win today. I always say it like this: I can only ask for one, right? I can only ask for one, and I got it today. So anyways, guys, I'll talk to you later. Take care.